So Arya 5 shows us Arya as she tries to survive in King's Landing without being found by the Lannisters, and we come to see that she has been using Sidio's teachings in order to make sure that she survives, as when she attempts to trade for food, she notices the man she is haggling with and actually examines him and observes his weaknesses. She also notes that multiple tales have been going around regarding what has happened to Ned in the castle, and from here we can see the heads are actually rotting on spikes already, with the crows fighting over them. And of all the many tales that have been told, it is noted that the Lord Commander of the City Watch has been raised up by the Lannisters for allying with them, and so he has been given lands on the Trident and a seat on the King's Council. And there are other rumours that say that Ned murdered Robert and then was slain by Renly, and there are others who insist that Renly had killed the king in a drunken quarrel between brothers and then fled like a common thief. Another says that the king had been killed while hunting a boar, and another says that he had died eating a boar, stuffing himself so much that he burst at the table. And then others claimed that Varys had poisoned the king, while others still claimed that it had in actual fact been Cersei who poisoned him, and then others saying he had died of a pox, and others that he choked on a fishbone. However, the one common theme of all the tales is that Robert had died, and we note that the bells and the seven towers of the Great Sept toll for a day and a night, signal the grief of their dead king, and this just makes me think how horrendous it must be to live in this city if you have to endure a full 24 hours of the bells chiming. It's revealed to us that every day since her escape, Arya has visited each of the 7 city gates to check if it is safe for her to pass out. And we find that there is the Dragon Gate, the Lion Gate, the Old Gate, all 3 of which are closed and barred. And then there's also the Mud Gate and the Gate of the Gods, which are open only for people to enter the city. No one can leave, as there is war being mentioned on everyone's minds, and so the city is basically in lockdown. The King's Gate, known as the Iron Gate, is the only gate by which people are actually allowed to leave the city. However, it is covered in Lannister men-at-arms, so it is not easy for her to sneak out that way. The only reason Arya has not starved to death is because in Freebottom there are communal areas to eat. However, these are not exactly safe, as Arya notes that even while she goes there for food, she notes people have their eyes on her, wanting her boots and her cloak, and potentially other things even she as a child did not understand but knew was wrong. And on her first night in the city outside of the castle, we find that basically all of her items were stolen, and the only reason that she still has Needle is because she was lying on top of it when she was raided. And we see here that she has obviously been taking Sirio's messages to heart, as while she still carries Needle on her hip, she conceals it with the cloak and uses the wooden training sword as a decoy while she is travelling in order to draw suspicion away from the fact that she has real steel. Knowing that the gates are no longer an option for her to get out of the city, she contemplates potentially swimming the river. However, it is noted that this is not a good idea as the currents are far too dangerous, and then she considers getting on a boat, as she notes that Old Nan has often told tales of boys who went off on adventures by stowing away on ships. While she is down at the harbour, she notices the colours of Winterfell, as some guardsmen are noted to wear the Winterfell sigil, and then notes that they are standing around a ship, and it is revealed by a passerby that she asks that this is the ship the Wind Witch, which was the ship Ned was planning to have take her and Sansa to safety. She goes to run towards the guardsman before she immediately remembers Sirio's message to look with your eyes, and then she realizes she knows all of her father's men, and these were strangers, and they notice her and call her boy. Luckily, they do not recognize who she is, as this is very clearly a trap that has been laid by the Lannisters in order to try and catch her. We also get a bit more context towards the ringing of bells, as a single tower from the Sept ringing is actually a summons, as someone is summoning the city to come to the Sept. And Arya discovers from people passing by that it's in actual fact Ned being brought to the Sept here. As she proceeds towards the Sept, she is nearly run down as the Redwine twins Sir Horace and Sir Hobber make their way to the Sept as well, and she notes that Sansa and Jane Poole used to laugh at them and call them horror and slobber. As the crowd begins to pack in around the Sept of Baelor, Arya manages to find the statue of King Baelor and climb upon it in order to watch what is happening, and from that viewpoint she is able to see Ned. Ned is very clearly emaciated from his stay in the cells, and he is standing next to the High Septon, who is by comparison very fat, and also again has notably got a crown of crystal which makes rainbows whenever he moves. He sees Joffrey and Cersei as well as the Hound and 4 other Kingsguards standing around. Varys is also there, and also Baelish is present. He is then, however, enraged to see Sansa is also present and clearly doing well despite everything that has happened to her family, as she appears washed, well looked after, and very happy. Ned openly confesses his crimes before the crowd, causing them to be enraged and throw rocks, and then the High Septon bows to Cersei and Joffrey and asks what should they do. The gods are just, yet Baelor taught us that they are also merciful. Joffrey steps forward and acknowledges that Sansa has pled for Ned to take the black and spare his life. However, he then turns to the crowd and decrees that Cersei and Sansa have the soft hearts of women, and as long as he is king, treason shall never go unpunished, and then commands Sir Ilyn to bring Ned's head. This causes an uproar, and we see the High Septon, Cersei, and Varys all appear to try to reason with Joffrey from Arya's vantage point. And it's interesting to note that the one other member of the council who is present but is not trying to stop this is Baelish. Sir Ilyn draws a 2-handed greatsword from his back, and Arya immediately realises that this is ice, the sword that belongs to Ned. Suddenly, Arya is grabbed from within the crowd and manages to drop Needle, and it is revealed that she has been grabbed by Yoren, who is suspiciously still hanging around in King's Landing, and now has clearly been set to guard this area and await for her arriving, knowing fine well that Ned being here would have drawn her out. As we know, people are still indeed waiting for her to reach the ship, as that trap is still currently in play. And the chapter ends with Yoren forcibly pulling her by the hair, which we will find in her next chapter is because he intends to make her look more like a boy by cutting it.